All right, let's get right into it. In the world of nursing, so much of what we need to understand, well, it just can't be put into a test tube or some controlled lab. We have to study life as it actually happens, with all its messiness and complexity. And that's exactly where non-experimental research comes in. Think of it as this incredible toolkit for observing the real world so we can make patient care better.
But why do we even need this kind of approach? Well, it really boils down to a huge challenge in healthcare research. Some of the most critical questions we face are the ones we simply can't, and frankly, shouldn't try to control.
Just think about this for a second. Seriously, if you wanted to prove smoking causes disease in a classic experiment, you'd literally have to get two groups of people and tell one group, okay, you're going to start smoking, and the other, you're not. It's completely unethical. There's just no way. So how on earth do we get that life-saving data? This is exactly why we need a different way of thinking about research.
So here it is. This is the fundamental difference, the big split. With experimental research, the scientist actively intervenes. They do something to a variable to see what happens. But with non-experimental research, the investigator is an observer. Their job is to collect data without changing anything, just watching the world as it unfolds to describe what's going on and maybe, just maybe, find some interesting connections. This really gets us to the core philosophy of this whole approach: observing, not intervening. It's a style of research that's built from the ground up on careful, systematic observation.
And here's the formal definition, which makes it crystal clear. The researcher is basically a passive observer. They measure and describe things exactly as they are, without poking or prodding. It's all about letting the real world be your laboratory. And this approach isn't just one single method. It's a whole family of different designs. As you can see, you've got everything from surveys and developmental studies all the way to epidemiological research. Each one is perfect for answering different kinds of questions. It basically gives nurses a tool for almost any observational question they could possibly have.
Now, we could probably spend a whole week talking about all of these, but for today, we're going to zoom in on two of the absolute workhorses of nursing research: descriptive and correlational designs. Let's kick things off with descriptive research. And really, the name says it all. The entire goal here is to paint an accurate, really detailed picture of a situation, just as it is. So its whole purpose is to explore and document what's happening. Researchers use this to discover new meaning or figure out how often something happens, and just to categorize information. This is that foundational work that helps us understand the whole landscape of a problem before we can even begin to think about how to solve it. Okay, so this style has a few key things to remember. First, zero manipulation from the researcher. None. Data is usually gathered through things like observation, interviews, and surveys. And this is crucial. It answers the question, what is happening, not why is it happening? That picture it paints often gives us our first clues, the hypotheses, for more complex studies down the road. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's all about capturing a snapshot of reality, a picture of a situation as it naturally happens. Simple as that. And these examples show you just how vital this is in nursing. I mean, imagine trying to support parents of sick kids without first understanding what their biggest stressors are, or trying to tackle nurse burnout without even knowing how common something like backache is. Descriptive studies give us that essential starting point. Okay, so if descriptive research is about painting the picture, then correlational research starts connecting the dots within that picture. It shifts from asking what is happening to what things seem to go together. So here, we are systematically looking for relationships. We're asking, as one thing changes, does another thing also change in a predictable way? The goal is to figure out the nature of these connections and how strong they are. Now, researchers are usually looking for two kinds of relationships. You've got your positive correlation. That's when two things move in the same direction. So think higher nursing staffing seems to go with higher patient satisfaction. Then you've got your negative correlation, where they move in opposite directions. Like increased alcohol intake is associated with a decreased lifespan. See how that works? One goes up, the other goes down. This relationship gets measured with a number called a correlation coefficient. It's on a scale from -1 to +1. +1 is a perfect, lockstep, positive relationship. -1 is a perfect, negative relationship. And a 0, that means there's no relationship at all. The closer that number is to either 1 or -1, the stronger the connection is. But hold on, before we go any further, there is one golden rule you absolutely positively must remember about this type of research. Seriously, if you only take one thing away today, please let it be this.
Let me say it again. Just because two things are related, it does not mean that one causes the other. Ever. This is the golden rule. Don't forget it. Remember, just seeing a link is not the same thing as proving a cause. Here's a classic example. Ice cream sales are always correlated with drowning incidents. So does eating ice cream make people drown? Of course not. There's a third thing, hot weather, that's causing both. Correlational studies are fantastic for finding potential links worth investigating, but they can't prove causation all by themselves.
So there you have it. From establishing the basic facts with descriptive studies to finding potential connections with correlational research, these non-experimental designs are just a vital part of the nursing toolkit. It all brings us right back to the real world. So now that you've got these tools in your head, think about your own environment. What patterns, what problems, what relationships do you see every single day that are just waiting to be explored?